Senior Solutions Architect at Mosaic Technology. Been with Mosaic for 4 years or so. Before that, I worked at a hospital on the East Coast, running their systems for about 10 years or so. Been a very early adopter for virtualization. My first production systems were on ESX 2.0.1, and so I've grown up with Mosaic, with virtualization as it's come across. With me is Pete Keeler. He's our solutions engineer here on the West Coast. We have 2 offices at Mosaic. East Coast in Salem, New Hampshire, West Coast in Bellevue. Cover the entire country, a couple different other locations around, but solutions. I'm trying to remember all this stuff off the top of my head because I'm not the sales guy, I'm an engineer, so we just do a lot of different things all over the place. But our primary focus is virtualization, storage, consolidation, and all the stuff that sort of goes in between. And virtualization is the next big thing. So if you're virtualizing a data center, that's wonderful. There's a lot of other things you can do with virtualization, like virtual desktops, VDI infrastructure, which is the next big thing. Or by the very nature of virtualizing things, because you've taken all those servers and put them into basically a file format on some storage, it becomes server agnostic. So you can run those on different servers as long as they run ESX, and you can run them in a different location. So disaster recovery with virtualization is the next big thing. But more importantly, and what really is the next big thing, is the fact that I don't do PowerPoint presentations. The last PowerPoint presentation I did was in November of 2010, and I just whiteboard. So there's no slides. We just talk, we interact, you ask questions, we answer it, and sort of draw it all out. So this is really the next big thing. The fact that everything's plugged in through my Apple TV and my network, and what I write here, you see up there. So we just start talking about virtualization and what things you can do with it, where you want to go, and we start drawing things out and taking you from point A to point B. And I love not having to do PowerPoint because I hated sitting there and watching PowerPoint, because usually about the 3rd or 4th slide in, everybody pulls out their phones, starts checking their emails, starts texting. And as a presenter, I see everybody pulling out their phone. I'm like, I'm losing these guys because they don't care. They can read the slides or whatever. So it's as painful for me giving PowerPoints as it was for you guys to sit in them. So I just scrapped the whole thing and just started whiteboarding, because that's what I like to do. So today we're talking about virtualization and what you can do the next step. Usually when people virtualize, the very first thing they do is they build a couple ESX hosts, they install it, they do some P2Vs, or they build up some brand new virtual machines, and voila, you've virtualized, you've gotten rid of all your physical machines, you've consolidated your data center into a couple ESX hosts. You've got some shared storage here on the SAN, you get a virtual center. And this picture I draw about 8 million times a week because it's just a virtual data center, basically. This is great. Virtualizing data centers are for systems. They make your life easier. You virtualize it, you don't have to worry about power supplies failing, and memory, all this stuff, because with high availability, disaster in HADRS, things move around, you can put things into maintenance mode, and it makes your life easier as far as the system's perspective when you virtualize your servers. That's great and good, but what do you do next? You virtualized them all, they're all sitting there happy. What about the other parts of things that you're involved in? A lot of systems administrators don't do desktop admin. A lot of you wind up starting as the help desk guy and get out of that as fast as you could. I know I did. But what do you do next? Well, virtual desktops. It's been the year of VDI for about 5-6 years now or something. And the truth of the matter is the idea was really good. The technology just hasn't been there for a while. Recent innovations in that space actually make it viable. There are changes to different protocols. PC over IP was made by a company called Timorici. If anybody's taking notes. Basically, it encapsulates the desktop, shoots it over in an encrypted format to the recipient. VMware licensed Teradici's PC over IP for their virtual desktop infrastructure. Why is that different from an endpoint user perspective? As opposed to the traditional RDP protocol. Yeah, that was useful if you want to get into a server and do something, but from a virtual desktop perspective and terminal services, it was like the least common denominator to get things to work. With RDP, basically everything was a screen scrape. So depending on your bandwidth and latency, it could be really slow. You move the mouse and go drink some coffee and come back, and then the cursor will move for you. And then you click on something and have another drink and change the channel on the TV, and then the cursor will move again and hit your button. Very slow on high latency, low bandwidth connections. So unless you were right next to the data center or something, it really wasn't practical. With PC over IP, they sort of changed up the way that things happen. First of all, it only sends blocks that have changed, different pixels that have actually changed on the screen. So once you get that first image, it's not going to send the whole image the next time it redraws the screen. It's only going to draw things that have actually changed. So if you have several windows on your desktop, it's going to show everything, and then it's actually going to look at what windows are on your screen and where they're stacked up. And it knows that the first window on the top of the stack is the one you're probably going to be looking at. So let's send the actual pixels that have changed on that screen first. When those are done, then we'll send the actual pixels that have changed on number 2 and then number 3. So the things that you deem are important, what you're looking at on that top window, is going to get your highest priority of what changes. Plus the fact that it's not sending the entire screen, it's only sending the actual blocks that have changed. Really cool technology. Gives you the possibility of, well, maybe if I'm pushing out the desktop infrastructure out to a lot of different users, this might make it worthwhile, as opposed to trying to get them to live with an RDP session from the other side of the state or something, because that latency and the bandwidth just wasn't there. Virtual desktops before. What else can you do with virtualization? If you're on shared storage and your virtual machines are sitting there as files, what can you do with them? Well, if you have a SAN, one of my favorite SANs is
EqualLogic.
I love EqualLogic. iSCSI storage is just easy, and EqualLogic makes it even easier. Yes, question?
With your PC, the explanation you were given earlier, what does the actual remote workstation look like? You don't want a lot of horsepower then.
Okay. Let's see, draw my little pretty picture here. you've got your virtual data center, and you have a user out here. A little keyboard there, and this mouse and everything. You're creating a virtual desktop. VMware uses a product called View, which will virtualize this thin client and use PC over IP as the protocol for the transmission of that information back and forth. You would put an agent, it's an agent on a desktop.
So you don't need much horsepower in your desktop. And
No, to make the point even better,
it's like the old dumb terminal days almost.
right, it's basically a dumb terminal. It's sending the desktop information out across through this tunnel to be displayed on here. All of the graphic rendering is done over here. All of the CPU is done here. All of the memory for that workstation is in the data center. So all you're sending is basically the stream of information, and you can connect USB devices, whatever, and those will be coming back as well. So you can put local printers and all that other stuff into this on the back end. What can you use for this? You can use a zero client or a thin client, which are just basically endpoint connection mechanisms.